All right, so this is the second half of the review. I think your packet starts with 22. Does that sound right? Okay. I do have extra packets in the back if you want to take one home tonight and redo the packet if you're concerned about how this is going to go tomorrow, because you really don't learn much by just watching me do it. So you got to do them on your own, see what you know. All right. It says use algebraic methods to identify the center and radius of this circle. And you have to have that formula memorized. That is not on the reference sheet, okay? It is basically the formula of an ellipse where the radius, where it's just got radius squared over here and A and B are 1, okay? All right, so what do we have to do to get this in that form? You remember? Yeah, we have to complete this square. We're going to put the x's together. And because there's no coefficient, we can go ahead and put the blank in. And then we're going to put the y's together. And then we're going to move the constant over to the other side, which would add 2. And then we're going to have a couple blanks over there. All right, so to complete this square for x, the pattern is you take half of b, so you would have x minus 3. And then if you multiplied out x minus 3 times x minus 3, you would get x squared minus 6x plus 9. And that means you need a 9 on the other side. And for the y's, we'd end up with what in the parentheses, guys? It is a positive 10y, so when we take half of that coefficient, we'd end up with plus 5. And then when we square it and put it up here, 5 times 5 is 25. And we've got to add it to the other side. Now, this may or may not come out a perfect square on the final, I can't remember, but 25 plus 9 plus 2 is 36. So that's the equation they're looking for here. X minus 3 squared plus y plus 5 squared equals 36. And what is the center, guys? The center is HK, so be careful, get your signs right. What's the center? 3, negative 5, okay? And this is r squared, so if r squared is 36, the radius is always a positive number because it's a distance, so the radius is just 6. And if it was a radical, you could just leave it a radical or decimal, I don't care. Questions? We good with circles? All right. The next one has a plus in the middle, which makes it an ellipse. That is on the bottom of the third page of your packet. And big star over here says that for an ellipse, A is greater than B. Okay? And if the greater number is under the X, then it's opening longer, or it's longer in the X direction. That's the major axis. If the bigger number A is underneath the Y term here, then its major axis is up and down. It's longer in the Y direction. So this particular one, which one is A, guys? 16 is A squared, and 4 is B squared. And this would be X minus H squared, and this would be y minus k squared. And so because the a squared is underneath the y, it's this guy, right? We're going to follow all of these formulas over here. All right. Kind of conic, anybody? That just wants to know it's an ellipse. Center is HK, which is what? Be careful of the signs. 3, -2. So over 3 and down 2 is the center. All right. What's A? A is the square root of 16 or 4. B is the square root of 4 or 2. Okay. So in the y direction, you can go down and use the formulas to find the vertices if you want. Okay, the vertices are h, comma, k plus or minus a. But what it is you're going up and down A from the center right here. So it's up 4 and down 4. Which puts them at, sorry, I did that wrong. It says h, comma, k plus a. So you'd have h is 3, and then k is -2, and you're adding and subtracting 4. So you need to find what those are. -2 plus 4 is 2, and -2 minus 4 is -6. Which is where we have them over here. All right. Vertices, to be able to graph this accurately, you also really need to find the co-vertices, which is h plus or minus b, comma, k. So that just means you're going out b or 2 units, either way from the center here. So 2 this way and 2 this way, or the co-vertices are at 5, -2, because k was -2, or 3 minus 2 would be 1, -2. Okay, so now you can draw it. And then how do you find the foci, guys? Well, the formula for foci down here says h, comma, k plus or minus c. I cannot tell you how many people thought c stood for center, okay? C, big C up here is the center, but this c is down here. It says c is the square root of a squared minus b squared. Right, so to find the foci, we got to do a little work. C equals the square root of a squared was 16 minus b squared, which was 4. So we get the square root of 12. And that would simplify 4 and 3. So we'd have 2 square roots of 3 for C, plus or minus. But the foci, did I do something wrong? Are we good? The foci down here say h, comma, k plus or minus c. H was 3, comma, k is -2, plus or minus 2 square roots of 3. I really don't care if you leave it square root of 12. And I'm not going to be accurately sketch showing the center and vertices. This says you don't have to sketch the foci, okay? If you typed -2 plus the square root of 12, whoops, what's happening? Okay. -2 plus the square root of 12, you could just make sure that it lands inside. It's on the major axis. It's like 1.5, so it would be up here, okay? Just showing you that it does have to be inside of the ellipse. But you don't have to graph those. Questions? That's like a 4-point question, so get it right. Be careful. All right, the next one says create the equation of a hyperbola. Now, I cannot stress enough that hyperbola has a different definition of A. Okay, A is not necessarily the bigger one. Okay, A is what is underneath the one that tells you which direction it's opening. So when A is under X, it's opening left and right. If A is under Y, it's opening up and down. We're writing an equation of one that opens left and right, yes? So we are using this. Now, does anybody remember how we actually determine from the picture what A and B are? You could write that this is the vertice at 7, 3. You could say the center is at -1, 3. Is that right, guys? So as soon as you know the center, you know H and K. And if this is a vertice, there's a formula that says, we decided we were using this one, H plus or minus A, comma K. So this is H plus or minus A, comma K. Well, H was -1 plus or minus A became 7 right here. Thank you. Perfect. It is -7. Okay. This is not how I would do it anyway. I would just count. If you went over to the vertex, that's your A value, and the value that doesn't have a vertex of your rectangle is your B value. Okay. So A was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is what would happen if you added 1 here. You get plus or minus A equals -6, but it doesn't matter because you want A squared. So it's 36. And then to find the B, you'd probably have to figure out like the slope of this, but B is just the direction that you didn't use yet for the rectangle. So B is 3 here, so B squared is going to be 9. All right, so can anybody... What'd I do? What? 1. Oh, got to go to the box. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm struggling. Okay, so B, I just went to the axis. To the box, is B is 4, so B squared is 16. All right, so now we got to fill this in. It was opening left and right, so it is this guy. So it would be x minus h, which was a -1, so that would become +1 squared. And then it's a minus y minus k, which was 3 for the center, equals 1. And it says this should be a squared under here, which is 36, and b squared under here, which is 16. Okay? If it had opened up and down, and A isn't necessarily the bigger number, it could have opened up and down and been completely different. Questions? Okay. I think the original final had a nasty completing the square for that question, and I was like, I think writing the equation from that little picture is much easier, and it was in Delta Math. We practiced that. So, all right, can you identify what kind of conic this is? It's either a circle, an ellipse, a hyperbola, or a parabola. Yeah, it's the one we just did. It has a minus in here, so it's just a hyperbola. I don't know if that's true on the final, so be careful. Now this one goes x minus h squared minus y minus k squared equals 1. So if I go back here to the information about hyperbolas, when it starts with an x, oh, there it is again. Where am I going? Help, help. Okay, when it starts with an x here, then this is a squared and this is b squared. That's what it said. Yes. A squared is always the first one under the positive term, and it doesn't have to be the bigger one, which is true on this one, right? A squared is 4 and b squared is 36, so be careful, those are squared. What is A and what is B, guys? 2 and 6, everybody good? All right, now parabolas are not well done on your reference sheet, right? The formula is covered up, I think, on your reference sheet. Where's the rest of it? Yeah, nice. Well, I don't have the rest of it either. But what you need to know for this question, compare the characteristics of these two parabolas given the graph of one and the equation of the other. All right, this formula right up here, even in this little box, I think you do have that little box, don't you, on your reference sheet? Yes. So this would be 4p x minus h squared equals y minus k. So what can you tell me, guys? If 4p is -4, then p is -1. What's h? Also -1. And what's k? +3. Everybody okay? Where those came from? Watch your signs, okay? Opposite of this, opposite of this. Oops, this is not squared. Oh, half power. There's no squared there, sorry. All right. We need to figure out which parabola has a vertex with a greater y value. Well, the vertex is just hk, guys. You have it on the reference sheet of the final. It's not covered up. It's there. But the vertex is h and k, so this one is at -1, +3 up here. Now, can you tell which way this one opens? The y was squared, so it's this, right? The y was squared, so it's opening left or right. And because right down here it says if p is greater than 0, it opens right, p is less than 0, it opens left. So we had a p value of -1, so it's opening left. Okay, so I don't know a whole lot about this, but it's opening this way. Now you could do a whole bunch of work and find the foci and everything, but which one of those, A or B, has a greater y value? Well, I guess if you want to be fancy, you can write this ordered pair as 3, -4 is the vertex, but greater y value just means it's higher up, right? So this one was at -1, 3, so the greater y value was B. Any questions on that? All right, explain which parabola would have a focus with a greater x value. All right, I don't think I even need to find the focus. Isn't the focus inside here somewhere? By the way, this would be messy to find, okay, because we don't have much information. But the focus is somewhere on this line, okay? And the focus here is somewhere on this line, yes? We could actually find this one. The formula for the focus there would be, I have it because I have the right sheet. The focus is h plus p comma k. All right? So for this particular one, the focus would be -1 plus -1 comma k, which is 3. So it would be at -2, 3 right in there. But again, I don't think it really matters because all we really want is which one has a greater x value, which means it's further to the what? To the right. Which of those parabolas? By the way, if we wanted to put this guy over here, he's at 3, -4, doing this. Okay, I just copied it onto the same graph paper so you can compare them. But A clearly has a focus that's further to the right. Questions? It's just a conceptual question rather than doing a bunch of math. Really. All right. Then we move to some sequence stuff, okay? And you have to know these formulas, and I know you struggle, guys. First of all, it doesn't tell you if it's if it's geometric or arithmetic. What's it doing? Isn't it doing minus 50? So what is that? A difference or a ratio? This is a difference. So then you're using the arithmetic equations. Now, the one on the sheet looks like this. I'm not going to be very happy with people who do this. A sub n equals 220 sorry, can't do that. 220 plus n minus 1 negative 50. Why am I not going to be happy with that? Yeah, doesn't this look like you're subtracting? Okay, if you really want to leave it in back, put parentheses around it. Every time I did them in class, I just moved this d up front, right? Because that's the way we were taught to distribute in Algebra 1, was from the front, not from the back. So if you put the d up here, then it would look like this. You don't need to simplify for me, I'm good with that. Everybody okay? Okay, a recursive formula must have two parts. You have to tell me a sub 1, and then you have to tell me a sub n equals a sub n minus 1, and then how to get to the next one. It's either plus a difference, or if it's geometric, it's times a ratio. So this particular one, you tell me my first term was 220, and to get to any term, I take the previous term and do what? Subtract 50 or add negative 50. You're going to review those forms right before the quiz tomorrow? Now, do you need me to do one that's geometric? If we had 2, 4, 8, 16, well, all right, that's not a good example because you're going to get confused. What's the ratio and what's the R value? Let's try, if it said 2, 6, 18, 54, okay, you would say a sub n equals 2 times 3 to the n minus 1. That's the explicit. And then you would say a sub 1 is 2, where a sub n equals a sub n minus 1 times 3 if you were doing the recursive. Is that an okay example real quick of how to do the other kind? All right. This one says find the fifth term. Please do not spend 45 minutes on this question. How do you find the fifth term? You plug in a 5, okay? A sub 5 equals 4 times a negative 2 to the 5 minus 1. Why is someone going to get this wrong? Because they're going to type it in the calculator wrong. Okay, it's 4 times negative 2. And you can do 5 minus 1 up here if you want, or just put a 4. I got 64. Anybody? We good? Okay. 29 is also just a calculator question. If you couldn't find it, how would you find you could put in what numbers? You could put in n equals 1, n equals 2, all the way up to n equals 5. And then find the sum of those answers. Okay, but it's not hard, it's under math. That's it. It's under the math button. And if you scroll down to summation, it doesn't matter what mode you're in. I'm in parametrics, but it doesn't matter. 1 to 5. And just remember, everything has to be inside the parentheses they gave you. So 3 whatevers plus 2, is that what it said, guys? Okay. So I got 55. But again, I could have put in a 1, it would have come out at 5. If I'd put in a 2, that would be 6, 7, 8. I put in a 3, that'd be 9, 10, 11. Put in a 4, that'd be 12, 13, 14. Put in a 5, I'd have 17, and I could just add those up. Or it's an arithmetic sum if you want to use the formula. You have the first and the last. And there's 5 terms divided by 2. I got 22 times 2.5. What did this? Does this work? 22 times 2.5 is 55? I think so. All right, either way, you could have got there, I think. Okay, given the first term and the common ratio of an I hope the final doesn't say that. It's a common difference of an arithmetic sequence. It at least uses the right letter here and says arithmetic. It's not a ratio. Sorry, I hope it's fixed, but it is arithmetic and it gives you a difference. So how do you find the 7th term? Well, the formula says, if you like this formula, look, it's 17 plus, I'm moving the D out front, negative 1.5 times, what do I put in here? If I'm finding a sub 7, n is 7, so it's 7 minus 1 times. All right, 6 times negative 1.5 is negative 9, I think. Is the answer 8? Can somebody double check? Is it? Did you type it? Okay. Easy enough question, though? All right. The life expectancy in hours of a battery is normally distributed with a mean of 500 hours and a standard deviation of 20. So 500 plus 20 is 520, plus 20 is 540. You could go the other direction and subtract some 20s. But the bottom line is this question says last for more than 540 hours. So we want to know how much is above 2 standard deviations. So looking at this chart, it looks like 2 standard deviations and above is 2.35, but that's not correct. Do you remember that? Because there's a little bit out on the end. What is everything above here called? 50%. Okay? And we don't want this 34 or this 13.5, right? So that leaves 2.5% because there was 2.3 and then a little teeny bit out at the end. Find the probability. I think it's a multiple choice question. So 2.5% is probably written as 0.025. I would take 2.5% if it's not multiple choice. I think I put an extra practice of that on here. The age of a teacher is normally distributed with a mean of 40 and a standard deviation of 5. That's not a 40. There we go, 45, 50, 35, 30. It says, find the probability the teacher is under 35. Okay, so what is that? That's all of this, right, guys? So how would you find that? Yeah, 50% for this half, and then you're taking out this 34%, or 0.16, either way. Everybody good in those kinds? I have remediation probably somewhere if you need more practice on that. All right, then we have a question on comparing three sequences that are all geometric. Geometric means they are multiplying by something. Can you tell what they're multiplying by in sequence A? Aren't they just multiplying by 5/4? Everybody good? That's all they want down here. Can you tell what they're multiplying by over and over on sequence B? If you look at the formula, it's a sub 1 r to the n minus 1, so r is just this 2. This one's going to take a little work though, right? Because we're missing a term. So it goes 3, then something, then 18.75. But what are we doing here? We got to be real careful. We're not adding, right? We're multiplying. How many times did we multiply? Times 1, 2. 3 times r squared became 18.75. If we divide by 3, we get r squared is 6.25. And then if we square root that, I think we get 2.5 maybe? Square root of 6.25 is 2.5. Okay, rank order from least to greatest, A, B, C. So which had the smallest ratio? B. And then, whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, yeah, I'm like, I thought I heard a B, but this is 1.25 if you make it a decimal, right? So it should have been A, then B, then C on our example here. I don't know that that's the same, obviously, on the final. But did anybody have a question about where we got those R values? Not too hard to pick the first two out, right? All right, then we have a vector question. This little blurb on vectors is at the bottom of your unit circle page. It says we have a vector u plus v gave us, these are components because they have these square brackets, okay? So we've already found the components right here. We didn't have to subtract anything. We have the components. If you're given ordered pairs, you have to subtract. But this is given the components. Then you square them to find the magnitude. This is magnitude. So you would do 2 squared plus 7 squared. Ignore the negative or put in parentheses, but don't put in a negative and square it without the parentheses. 49 and 4, is it square root of 53, guys? Is it like 7 point something? Okay. And the angle it makes with the x-axis. Okay, what quadrant is 2, negative 7 in? Quadrant 4, right? Okay. Quadrant 4, 2, negative 7. So it says to find the angle, you do inverse tangent of y over x. So inverse tangent, I need to be in degrees, which I am. And then I do second tangent. What was it, guys? Negative 7 over 2? Thank you. I got negative 74 degrees. Okay. Is that in quadrant 4? Yes. If you wanted to rename it, you could add 360. I think it's a multiple choice question. What's negative 74 plus 360? 2. What is it? Thank you. All right. I think I put one more of these on here because I was worried if it's in the different well, this is similar. Okay. This is not the same question. This is the kind where you're given ordered pairs and you have to find the components. So it's, if you're finding vector A to B, it's B minus A. So it's 2 minus 1 for the x's, and then 8 minus 5 for the y's. So you get 1, 3. Did I mess that up? Oh. Do I not have it? Okay. Apparently I don't have it on my slides. I'll come back to it, okay, guys? Is everybody okay with 36? Okay, 2 minus 1, 8 minus 5. So the magnitude is then 1 squared plus 3 squared, which is the square root of 10 or 3 point something. I'm guessing like 3.1. 3 point what? That's fine. I think, like I said, I think it might even say square root of 10. I think it's a multiple choice question. And the angle it makes through the x-axis would be inverse tangent of 3 over 1. Now, what quadrant is 1, 3 in, guys? Quadrant 1, right? It's positive, positive. So when we do inverse tangent, we should be good with just a quadrant 1 answer. Was it 3 over 1? So 71.6 degrees. Okay, is 35 more like 34 or 36? Neither? So these are both vector. Okay. Yeah, can you read it to me real quick?
Find the components of x and y, so it has the brackets.
Mm-hmm.
Exact components for a vector of 50 miles per hour at an angle of 120 degrees.
Okay, thank you. This is 35, guys. Anybody remember how to do this? It is right here, yes? R cosine theta, R sine theta, to find components. To see those little funky parentheses? So we're just going to do 50 cosine of 120 and 50 sine of 120. Now, I think she read exact, didn't she? Okay, for exact, you can't use your calculator. You have to use what to find the cosine of 120? Your unit circle. So on your unit circle, the ordered pair at 120 degrees is negative 1/2 positive square root of 3 over 2. So this would be 50 times negative 1/2, which would be what? Anybody? Negative 25. And then this would be 50 times the square root of 3 over 2. What is that going to reduce to? Anybody? 25 square roots of 3, because the 2 can reduce into the 50. Again, I think that's a multiple choice question. Could you pick out the right ones? All right, sorry that I missed that when I made the smart. Okay, 37 is really the same question. It's just in polars. Do you remember this? Polars, this is an r and a theta, but look what it says here. To find the x, y, you do the same thing. So it's 8 cosine of 2 pi over 3 and 8 sine of 2 pi over 3. Can anybody read me the ordered pair? Is it the same ordered pair we just did? No. Yes? 2 pi over 3 is the same as 120. So the ordered pair was negative 1/2 square root of 3 over 2. So 8 times negative 1/2 and 8 times square root of 3 over 2. Anybody tell me what those would be? Negative 4 and 4 square roots of 3. And this would be a parenthesis because it says that's the xy. It's not tricky like I gave you some parentheses and some vector components, and no, it's not that tricky. I'm not that mean. All right, then we got a couple probability questions. A bag contains 14 yellow, 5 red, and 6 green. Is that 25 marbles, guys? Okay. It says 2 marbles are drawn. The first is replaced before the second is drawn. So how many are always in the bag, guys? 25. Okay. What's the chance we get a green? 6 out of 25. What's the chance the second time? we put it back, so it's still what? 6 out of 25. Okay? So that would be 36 out of 625. I don't know if that reduces. I'm thinking no. It's possible it's a decimal on the quiz or a fraction. I can't remember. It's multiple choice. I just remember that. Questions? Read carefully, because without replacement would be different. But I think it's with, that's why I put it on there. Okay. A basket contains 8 apples, 7 peaches, and 11 pears. 11 and 15, is that 26 pieces of fruit? Okay. Find the probability it is an apple or an orange. You picked 1. But remember, it's winners out of total possible. And what do we want? What are all the winners here? Apples and peaches are winners, right? So 15 out of 26. Did somebody else get that? All right. Then there are a couple binomial practice on here. There's not 2 on the quiz. There's only 1. It says 73%. You want to hit 11 out of 18. 18 is trials. This is number of successes. And this is your probability. So it's under math. Nope, just kidding. It's under second VARS. Binomial. It says right by the question to use binomial. Okay. What was it? 18 holes? 0.73? And was it 11? Okay. And I got like 0.104. Or 10.4%, but I think it might be just a decimal on the questions. Can you guys do this one real fast? Now, this one is worded a little harder, but I don't know that this is the kind that's on the quiz. But if there's 4 choices for every question, the chance you pick the right answer is 1 in 4, right? So this would be 10, 1, 4, 3. And I got on this one 0.25 as the percent. Okay, is this, we still have limits and this icky question? Okay, review limits with me real fast. What is it approaching? Not where is it at. What is it approaching as we get close to 1? The y value, as we get close to an x value from both directions, the y value is approaching 1. Do you remember that? Okay. And then this one, the important thing here is that you remember to set up the equations. It is on your reference sheet. Where is it on the reference sheet, guys? On the back page? Oh, it's not in the reference sheet. I'm just kidding. Look, it's in the question. I didn't put it on the reference sheet. It's actually part of the question. So this would go t cosine 44 feet per second. No, blah, 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 blah. Oh, I need to make this video over again. It's 44 cosine of 50. And then it's negative 16 t squared plus t 44 sine of 50. And then it's from the ground, so you don't need a additional one. And I used a t window of like 0 to 5 seconds with a t step of 0.1. And then I figured out and graphed it. And it says when the ball hits the ground, so here the height is as close to 0 as I could get. And it's about 59 or 60 feet away. Okay. You had to be in parametrics and degrees. It just says parametric equations here in the question. You can be in degrees the whole time for this part. You can have a couple more, but I'm going to give the leftovers to my advisory probably.